My name's Helen. If you're new here, then hello. If you are returning, then it's nice to have you back. Thank you very much for coming back. I thought we'd do a little chat today all about my weight loss surgery and why I decided to have it, and also the ins and outs of it. I've had a couple of people kind of talk to me about it, so grab yourself a nice blanket like me. I've got my heated blanket on, and warm drink or something nice to drink, and let's just have a little conversation this morning about all the ins and outs of bariatric surgery. So for those of you who don't know, bariatric surgery is basically surgery on your stomach. So it's either like gastric sleeve or a gastric band or a gastric bypass. It basically alters your stomach, and it is it's quite extreme, really, and it is not for the faint-hearted. I think some people see it as the easy way out, and absolutely entitled to your opinion, but having gone through it, it is definitely not an easy option. It is one that you would do basically when everything else is exhausted, and that's how I was. I was exhausted. I'd gone through a period of just really low kind of mood and burnout, really. And I'd kind of thought about weight loss surgery for a while, but was too scared, basically. It was very permanent, something that was very drastic, and I was frightened that what if it didn't work? What if it, I spent all that money on surgery that then didn't work and I'd be in the same position. So I basically struggled with the idea for a while, and the thing that finally got me was when I went to Vegas for my 40th birthday. And although I loved that holiday and I dropped a couple of stone for the holiday, when I looked at the holiday pictures, I was absolutely devastated because I could see how unhappy I was, even though I was smiling. And something that should have been an amazing experience for me was just completely marred by weight and how I felt inside. Met a bariatric coach. So she is a life coach who deals with basically helping people through weight loss surgery. She guided me through kind of a process of cutting out junk from my diet in a way that I could do. So yeah, it was a case of slowly. And I met her for the first time in October 2023, and I was due to have surgery in the January privately in the UK, but that really fell through. There was a lot of issues with cost and financing it, and it was going to be £11,500, something like that, which is a huge amount of money. And I'd managed to save up, I think about £2,500, but it just wasn't viable to get the rest of the money. And I ummed and ahed about it, and with my coach's kind of support and talking it through, I decided to go to Turkey. And the reason that I decided to go to Turkey was mainly because of cost. And there are a lot of opinions out there about Turkey, rightly so. You need to do your research, and I'm not going to kind of say who I went with, not because they're not good. I thought they were fine. However, I don't ever want to recommend a company to go with for surgery because it is a very individual choice. And if you have a bad experience and I've said, oh yeah, they're great, that is kind of on me. And I don't want you to go on my recommendation. I want you to do your own research. So if this is something you're thinking about, my advice would definitely be research. I spent a good 4 months, maybe even longer, looking at the hospitals, the care, the aftercare, the reviews, trying to do like little investigative work about were the reviews like real. Facebook is a good tool. Just trying to find out where I would go to be safe. And it took quite a few weeks to decide who I was going with. And I'd already contacted a couple of companies, including this one, 2 or 3 times before, obviously thinking about it, but I'd never got to the stage where I was like, right, yeah, put a deposit down, book it, let's go. So anyway, I did that. I got in touch with them, and the company that I went with, it was an all-inclusive package. I just had to buy my flights separately. So the package included going over for surgery. So you basically flew out to Turkey. They picked you up from the airport, took you to a hotel. The hotel is owned by the hospital. The next morning you go to the hospital, have lots and lots and lots of tests done, have your operation if you are well enough, stay in the hospital 2 or 3 days, then go back to the hotel for a couple of days, then fly home. And the company that I went with had lots of good reviews, but the one thing that made me actually go with them was the surgeon. The surgeon was outstanding, fantastic surgeon, has just the best reputation, and I knew that he would do a good job. So I actually went out in June 2024. I took my husband with me, and I'm so glad I did. So the package that I got, he was looked after. He got 3 meals a day while I was in the hospital. He was in the same room as me. He was there with me all the time and was looked after. You know, there was no point where he had to fend for himself, although he did go out and buy bits and pieces from the shop and met other people. So it is very much a business. And when we went over, there was 4 or 5 ladies who were having the operation at the same time. We flew out to Turkey, like I say, we all got picked up in a minibus and went to the hotel. And then the next morning was a very early start. We went to the hospital and had loads of tests done. I mean, loads. Blood tests, cardiology, you know, scans, all kinds of ultrasounds, all kinds of stuff. And I was really, really, really impressed with that. It was really thorough. So I had all my tests done, and then after you have your tests done, you go and have like a talk about kind of what's involved. You sign all the consent papers, and at that point, that's when you pay. And I had no worries. Stephen looked over my husband looked over all the contracts and everything. It is your standard stuff, you know. I got extra medical insurance because if you go for like anything like that abroad, you're not covered unless you get specialist medical insurance. So I did that. That was a little bit of peace of mind, and they explained that there were certain things covered, but after surgery, if you needed things like bloods or extra treatment, you would pay for that, and that would be like cash that you would need to pay if anything went wrong, if you like, so like bags of blood or anything like that. Luckily I didn't need anything, but my insurance that I'd taken out here covered me for that anyway, so I felt peace of mind. I felt that the hospital was very, very well organised. Like I say, it's a business to them. This is huge. It's massive, big business, and they run on reputation a lot of the time. So you know that in one way you're kind of, they have to do it right because they're running on reputation. But that doesn't stop the fear. That doesn't stop you being scared. I mean, I was really scared. I remember going down for the operation, and they put me to sleep for the endoscopy. That's like the camera down your throat to make sure everything's all right. They woke me up and said, "We're going to take you straight in." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I was wheeled down to the operating theatre, and there was a man, lovely guy, but he was singing in Turkish and stroking my shoulder, and honestly it freaked me out. I was like, this is some kind of fever dream, it's just not even real. And then the next thing I knew, I was waking up back in my room, all done, surgery finished. But the whole experience was scary. You know, I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't an experience that I would say I enjoyed. You know, I was going for surgery abroad in a country where I didn't know the language, but I felt looked after, and I felt safe, and I think that was really important. After surgery, I had a lot of pain. The gas, they do it with keyhole surgery, so I have, excuse me, I have 4 little incisions in my tummy, so you don't get like a big cut, it's just 4 little incisions. And the surgery I had was gastric sleeve surgery, so they basically remove the back part of your stomach, so you're left with like a banana-shaped tube. And they do all that by blowing your tummy up full of gas, putting the tools in and doing it that way. And after surgery, that gas, they try and get rid of as much as they can, but it doesn't all go, and that gas is really uncomfortable. So when I came around, I was in a lot of pain, and it was the gas, basically, the trapped gas. And there's nothing you can do for that. It's just a case of it has to disperse on its own, and the only thing you can really do is walk, which is something you don't really want to do after you've had an operation. So I found the first 24 or 48 hours really tough. Stephen was great. He helped me get in and out of bed. The incisions weren't painful, and I didn't feel like in massive pain with the operation, but I was very uncomfortable, and it took a good couple of days for me to feel better. I would say the language barrier on the ward with the nurses was difficult. They have a set routine of how they do things, and whereas in the UK you can maybe say, look, this is how I'm feeling, could I have this, could I have that? That's kind of not what they do over there. It's kind of a set procedure, and they give you the medications when you need them, and you don't really get anything in between. And there was a couple of times when I asked for painkillers and there was none to give me. They don't hold them on the ward, so that was a bit difficult. And I am a wuss, so I did find I did find that really difficult, because I am a bit of a soft. I'm a bit of a softie, so I like my painkillers. I don't believe in suffering for suffering's sake. Yeah, so that was a bit tough. But I did what everyone did, and we just walked up and down the corridors, and it was funny because you'd come out of your room and there'd be a couple of other ladies who had their operation at the same time, and we'd just all walk up and down the corridors and chat and kind of get to know people. And I've made a couple of really good friends from being there, so that was the upside. The hospital was immaculately clean, and I can't fault them enough on the actual mechanics and the kind of day-to-day of the running of the hospital at all. The hospital was immaculate. There was a cleaner on the ward, and she was on top of things, and it was, you could get like towels, and my room had an ensuite shower. So yeah, that all went fine. Anyway, after 3 days I was feeling well enough. I went back to the hotel. I spent a night in the hotel, and then I flew home, and it was fine. I was a little bit uncomfortable, but not in pain, and I spent the next few weeks recovering at home. And you basically you have to learn to eat again. Your stomach's healing, so you have to treat it really carefully. So it's a liquid diet. Sometimes you do a pre-diet before your operation to get your body prepared, and then you do a diet afterwards which consists of just liquids. Then it is so things like water and juice and protein shakes are massively important. Then you move up to things like yogurts, cottage cheese, scrambled egg, like really soft pureed foods. Then you move on to more softer foods that got a bit more texture, and then you can start introducing foods and eating normally. The biggest kind of thing with this kind of surgery is your portion size. That's how you lose weight, is that your portion sizes are small. So now I eat 4 or 5 times a day. My portions are just small, basically. It's very difficult to kind of explain it, and this is why I'm going to kind of show you as we go on in the videos kind of how I eat, because I think it's really important. So guys, my memory card cut out there, so I thought what I'd do now is show you one of the meals that I prepare quite a lot since I've had surgery. I use my slow cooker a lot, and as it's slow cooker season now, I am very pleased about that, because it means that we are having seasonal foods that are easy to make and easy to prep. So I tend to make a lot of things like stews and soups, things that are whole foods. I definitely have changed the way I eat completely. I don't eat fried fatty foods, I don't eat chocolate, I don't eat things that are going to basically trigger me to overeat or binge. And so my main focus is whole foods, and something at the coaching program that I'm a coach for, it's called the Bariatric Rewrite, and we have a specific kind of way of doing things. It's not a diet. We focus very much on whole foods, cutting out processed foods basically. And what I mean by processed foods is those ultra processed foods that have gone through various stages and have ingredients and chemicals in them that you can't pronounce. So it's basically going back to, I suppose, a bit more of a simpler way of eating and eating for health. And that's my main focus now, is health and well-being. I have realised that actually weight doesn't make you happy. So I, don't get me wrong, love being thinner and I love the fact that I've lost weight. It means I can do so much more than I was able to before. I'm more active, I'm more mobile, I feel better in clothes. But I would say it is a case of, it's not all about what you weigh, it's about your mindset and kind of changing who you are as well. So there's lots of kind of rules and myths and that kind of thing to bariatric surgery. I would say, if you're wanting to know more about it, my business partner and I, who are the UK coaches at the Bariatric Rewrite, we do a podcast called the Bariatric Rewrite UK podcast. That's on Spotify, and I'll link it down below. And that will give you more insight into bariatric surgery. And also, if you're thinking about taking a GLP-1 like Mounjaro or Ozempic, then that will give you some insight into that too. But yeah, food-wise, it is different for me now. There is no denying that. When I go out to eat, I only have like starters or like small plates, and my husband and I share a lot of stuff. But I still really enjoy going out for food. I think it's taken quite a bit of time to get used to my new tummy, and that's kind of how it goes. Gastric sleeve surgery is like completely life-changing, and it does change your life permanently. So it is something to definitely think about. I want to do loads more exercise. I have only done really walking, a bit of weights at the gym up until now. So that's something I want to focus on and keep on with the mindset stuff and, just kind of be a whole rounded person. So yeah, I wanted to kind of just say a little bit about day to day after having a gastric sleeve. The first, I would say, 6 months, you're kind of riding high, you don't feel hungry, you're learning what to eat, but there are a lot of other things that kind of are under the surface. I used food a lot for getting over emotions, so I had to relearn kind of that and how to deal with my emotions without eating, and I wanted to do a lot of work on me, because I realised quite quickly that my weight wasn't the reason I was so sad. My weight was only a part of it, and the reason I was so sad is because my mind wasn't healthy. I wasn't treating myself kindly. I can't even tell you the amount of times that I just didn't prioritise me. And it was one of the main reasons why I went into coaching, because I realised from my bariatric coaching that life could be so different, and if I just worked on my mindset a bit, everything could kind of change, and I didn't have to feel those feelings, and the things that I thought were true weren't. And it was a massive learning curve for me. I hope you can hear me over the vacuum. It's a bit silly putting it on, wasn't it? And anyway, so I hope you found this video useful. I am always happy to talk about my gastric sleeve journey. It is not a secret, it is out there. I am a bariatric coach. I help others who are going through a similar experience, and I have had a couple of years now of training to be a coach, and it is kind of what I'm really passionate about. So thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. The reason why, like I said, I changed my channel to Helen Harmer Home is because this channel is all about coming home to yourself. It's about making your home a nice place to live in, little kind of routines and tasks every day. My life's not perfect. Nobody's life is perfect. And we need to kind of dispel that myth from the internet. We see a lot of aesthetic videos, and I love them, and I think there is definitely a place for them. But life isn't always shiny and bright and soft lit candles, and sometimes it's tough, and I think it's important to have a safe space in the internet where you can come, you can hang out, and we can just be real. This is real talk. So yeah, so there'll be lots of home content, cleaning, organising, decorating, that kind of thing. But there'll also be lots of things like meal preps, what I eat in a day, that kind of thing. My fitness journey, I'm planning on doing a massive kind of fitness journey in January, but also one of my goals in January is to get back on top of money and get rid of any debts that I've got and start really kind of being intentional with buying things and kind of selling loads of stuff. So we're going to talk about that, maybe do some videos on that, little gentle resets, all that kind of stuff. So I really hope that you will be a part of that journey with me. I feel so good to be back. It is nice to be here, and I just want to kind of share that if you feel lost or stuck or things aren't right, then it is absolutely fine to begin again. You know, we can start again at any time, and it's scary and change is scary, but I'm here with you, and if you ever need somebody to talk to, I'm here. Just pop on over to Helen Harmer Home and watch a few of my videos, and I hope that will really help. So once again, for the billionth time, because I am really grateful, thank you for being here. Have a great week. I will be back hopefully on Sunday with a finishing off my Christmas decorating. Still got a few bits and pieces to do, lots to show you with what I've done in the house, and we'll get you kind of little home tour done so you can see what I've decorated. But yeah, hope to see you again, and take care. See you in the next one.